Hello, everyone, and welcome to another broadcast of Northwest Georgia Cryptics. I am Rick Weaver. I'm joined tonight by my co-host, Mr. Blake Duckworth. Uh, Hang on just a minute. Hello? Yes. Yeah, I can hear you. You still didn't. You still can. Did you go in and click on the icon? And it didn't do anything.
Ricky, it may be because he's not doing it on. You can't do it on. I think it's Safari or what? What internet is he using?
Huh.
Ricky,
Hang on
can
a
you hear me?
second, Blake. He says he can see us, but it's telling him that he's backstage, but it's not showing up on our screen here. Oh, he can see himself, he said.
Enter broadcast. Tell him to hit enter broadcast. Are they a thing at the bottom that says enter broadcast?
Okay, is there a thing at the bottom that says enter broadcast? Hey, everyone, please bear with us. We have Mr. Mike Dupler from Spartan, Indiana. He's having trouble getting into the studio. We have him on as our guest tonight. So please, everyone that's tuned in, just bear with us for a moment. And there's Mr. Mike.
Over there?
Yeah, we're there, Mike. Hello, buddy.
Technology, I tell you, man.
Hey, I'm telling you, dude, this is something that worries me to death every week. We're glad you finally made it on with us. Mike, this
Mike,
is Blake
Blake.
How you doing?
Duckworth, my
Doing
co-host.
good, brother.
We're already live, Mike. So normally what we do is we take you off, have a little opening, and then we bring you back on. But I'm just going to go ahead and let Blake open up the show. And then basically what you'll do is just once he opens up the show, you'll just come on, tell your story, tell what got you involved in the Sasquatch world, tell the people a little about your book, and we'll just go from there.
Will you be like asking like questions and that type of thing?
Yeah, we will
Yeah,
along the way, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
basically, you can talk about whatever you want to talk about, and we'll have questions along the way.
Okay.
We'll try and base our question off of what you talk about.
Am I too close? How's my picture? Is this okay?
That looks good, bud.
All
That's
right.
good, brother.
All right.
How's it going, everyone? I hope everyone's having a great night. Give Mr. Mike a warm welcome. And if you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button, bell notification, like, and a comment. Basically, we're here to talk about Mike's book and any encounters he wants to, anything he wants to talk about. So pretty much, floor is yours now, Mike.
Okay. Thank you. My book is On the Trail of Bigfoot. If you can see it. They did a wonderful job with the cover. It's available through Amazon, through Barnes & Noble, and through Indie Bound online. There we go. All right. Thank you. The book came out April 1st, so it hasn't been out a long time, but I've had some good response about it, some good reviews. Hopefully it'll do well. We'll see. I wrote the book actually, I started my paranormal career or life or whatever, hunting ghosts, watching ghost hunters on YouTube, watching ghost hunters on Sci-Fi Channel. I'm originally from Columbus, Ohio, so I decided to go to the Ohio State Reformatory in Mansfield to do a ghost hunt, and the only equipment I had was we went to Walgreens and got some disposable cameras. Okay, and we just walked around and taking pictures and this and that or whatever. It was like a overnight ghost hunt, and towards about 11 o'clock or so, they get everybody together and they have like pizza and drinks or something or that type of thing. Give everybody a chance to relax and calm down or whatever.
So was it more like a public event?
Yeah, it's an overnight ghost hunt. It was a public ghost hunt, but you had to reserve your spot or whatever.
Yeah, I'm actually a volunteer. I don't know if you've ever heard of Haunted Old South Pittsburgh in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee.
Yes.
I'm actually a volunteer there, and we do public events and stuff. So
I've been there. I haven't been to the hospital. I've been through the town.
Okay, so you've never been to the hospital.
Right.
Do you still paranormal investigate?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, come give us a visit sometime.
Okay.
I mean, we do. I mean, you can rent the building out. We do overnight rentals, and of course, you can do day tours as well. We have at least one public event a month. Public events are pretty fun. Just 2 events ago, we had a couple of the crew from Ghost Adventure or Ghost Hunters there. Kindling Spirits has been there. A bunch of, pretty much everybody's been to the hospital, and we have special guests at the public events as well. So you get to meet some pretty cool people sometimes.
Well, I've actually refined this down to where what I do is I do ghost photography. Okay. I don't do like
you don't actually investigate.
The investigation where use your EMFs and all that other type of thing, and I usually do mine during the day.
Yeah.
And I catch quite a bit. I went to the South Pittsburgh in town where the massacre was, and I caught a couple of things. There was like an old theater, and above it were like some apartments or something.
Yep, that's right in downtown. Yep. And
those windows are like blacked out. I caught two people looking out of that window. So, yeah, I've caught some stuff. But anyway,
the town itself is pretty historical. I mean, it has some pretty historical events that have happened in the area there. So that whole town, I've heard, is got some activity.
Right. Well, I guess downtown they had like a Christmas massacre or something back in the 20s between the sheriff and some union people. Yep. That's what I went there to check out, and I actually did catch some good pictures from there.
That's awesome.
But
sorry to interrupt there.
That's fine. That's fine. Well, we're at the Mansfield Reformatory, and it was getting late. We had our pizza, and I had like one picture left on our disposable cameras. So we went into this, as we were leaving, we went into this area called the bullpen, which is a central location. And from there you go to the cell blocks. And I just snapped the last picture off in the bullpen. And that picture, I caught a full-bodied apparition, looked like a gentleman in a wheelchair with like Victorian clothing or something like that. So since then I've been hooked. Okay. I went to Oregon with my daughter. We went to investigate the Shanghai tunnels in Portland, and we rented a cabin in a state park that was halfway between Portland and the ocean. So one morning we got up and we decided that we're going to go to the ocean for the day. So we were driving back roads heading towards the interstate, and out in this field, I saw these trees that were stuck in the ground upside down. Now, I had watched a documentary called Missing Monsters of Alaska. And one of the segments was on Prince of Wales Island, the locals say that the Harrymen take blown down trees and stick them in the ground upside down as territory markers. Now, I'm not saying that what I saw was something that Bigfoot did, but it was enough to pique my interest in the subject. So when I got back to Ohio, I got a hold of my sister, and we checked into Bigfoot sightings in Ohio, and it turned out that Ohio was number 5 in the country of states reporting sightings of Bigfoot, which is, to me, that was amazing because that was right behind the Pacific Northwest. And it seemed like a state park called Salt Fork State Park in eastern Ohio was the hot spot. So we drove out to Salt Fork, not knowing what we was doing or anything, didn't know what, how to do what we wanted to do. So we just parked the car and started
you just went on a mission.
What's
you
that?
just went on a mission, pretty much.
Exactly. We didn't know what we was doing. We just knew that we wanted to do something. So we were walking this path that went around the lake, and we wandered into this ravine and sat down on a log. And my sister looked down and says, "That looks like a track." So I looked at it, and it looked exactly what I would think a Bigfoot track should look like. And it was pressed into the leaf litter. So we looked around, we found maybe another partial track, and then it went uphill. But it was amazing that the first place we looked, we found an actual track. So I was hooked.
So how many actual Bigfoot investigations have you been on, Mike?
I've been doing this for about 10 or 12 years. So
okay.
A lot. The book that I wrote, the On the Trail of Bigfoot, is basically based on my investigations at Salt Fork State Park, which it's just amazing the evidence that you can find there. I know a lot of people investigate there, but a lot of people who investigate there are with like groups like BFRO and that type of thing, where they go into and do like a group camp out and go at night and do tree knocks and whoops and whatever. But there's a few people like me who just wander off into the woods looking for stuff. And it's just an incredible place to go to. If anybody's in Ohio, they need to check this out.
Blake, that sounds like something you and I need to go check out, buddy.
Load the car.
Time is the problem.
Right. That's true. We do a lot of investigating here in Northwest Georgia area, up in Tennessee. Got a guy in Alabama that's wanting to come down and do a investigation on his farm down there. He's had a lot of activity. So between doing that and doing our shows that we produce every week, we stay tied up quite a bit. We done a camp out here 2-3 weeks ago down at Johns Mountain WMA, and got a little evidence down there. And then I was back down there, I think, a couple of weeks ago. We done a night investigation. We ended up getting some whoops. Ended up having one come in about 40 yards from the truck. I mean, we could hear him bipedal walking through the leaves, crunching the dead tree limbs. Never did actually get a knock that night, but that's the way it goes. We've been up on Blue Ridge WMA a number of times, and we've ended up getting tree knocks up there, ended up getting whoops. One night we were up there, and we had right at dark, what sounded to be 2 400-pound owls hollering back and forth to one another. These things actually mimic animal calls. And,
I know.
It's just wild. It's just wild to me at what these animals are actually capable of.
Well, I retired to Tennessee from Ohio, so I'm in Tennessee. I'm in Middle Tennessee, I'm near Cumberland County in
Okay.
Middle
Oh, okay.
Tennessee. So that's where I'm at now. And I've had some encounters here in Tennessee. I've been here, it'll be 3 years in September that I've been down here. And I actually found an active area that I go to that really doesn't have any Bigfoot reports. So there's no one in there hunting Bigfoot except me, and
That's how it is a
that's pretty
lot
cool.
here. I mean, of course, you get over in the Blue Ridge area, that's well known for Bigfoot encounters. But I mean, we have John's mountain range over close to us. That I mean, they're kind of same circumstance. There are a lot of activity over there, but you don't hear a lot of encounters. There's nobody really investigating it. Down where actually I had my personal sighting of a family in 2011. I mean, there are a few reports that come from that area, but as far as I know, we're the only few people that ever do research down there.
That makes it nice because when I do my ghost hunting, I do that during the day, and when I go squatching, I go during the day. I don't go at night because I can't see anything, and I find structures all the time. I've actually cast 8 footprint casts, 2 of them in Tennessee, and the rest were from Ohio. And I actually have a handprint cast from Ohio that I made. So yeah, Tennessee is very active. I can tell you a story that happened in August here in Tennessee. I was walking an old logging road back to an area where I had seen tracks before, and I came upon a high point in the road, and I saw something big move behind a tree. I first thought it was a bear. I had bear spray with me, so I really wasn't that concerned. So I walked a little bit, and right in front of me was a new structure that wasn't there the last time I was there. So I walked over to the structure. I was going to take pictures of it. And off to my right, I heard 2 screams, like a woman from an old horror movie or something. Have you ever heard the Bigfoot type scream?
Oh Lord, yeah, many times.
Bone chilling scream.
Oh yes.
So I knew that there was 2 Bigfoots just out of sight to my right, and that was a Bigfoot that I saw going behind that tree because nothing came out the other side of the tree. So I took my pictures, and I just calmly kept walking the logging road because it took a jog to the right, and I walked it back to my vehicle. But yeah, there were 2 of them back there, and like I said, I heard them scream. I saw a new structure, and I actually saw one go behind a tree. This structure that I saw, it was a teepee type structure, but the left upright of the teepee was upside down because the branches were pointing down this way. So in my opinion, they do this because maybe a form of communication, but if they look at that actually means something to them. They can derive a message from this.
Well,
right, and that's something,
that's.
Go ahead, Blake.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely. I mean, for some whatever reason, whatever, they're definitely their structures, tree breaks. There's some type of significance to them. I mean, whether if it be communication, kind of road maps, whatever. It's like when we find a lot of like limb breaks, tree breaks here, a lot of them are always facing the same direction. What is what's the significance behind it? We don't know. I mean, you can theorize, of course, but I mean,
right.
But now another point I'd like to make is most of the time when we find limb breaks here, they're normally anywhere from 8 to 12 foot off the ground, maybe even a little taller. As Blake said, they're all pointing in one direction. But I'd say 8 out of 10 times that we find them, if you'll follow those tree breaks, it's always leading to water.
Wow,
I don't know if it's a path that they actually that they actually use, to signify that water's in this direction, whatever. But 8 out of 10
That's
times.
like Zeus. Zeus is saying every time out there in Colorado, talking about all his, when he finds tree breaks and stuff, they're always facing towards human activity.
Right.
It could just be a direction marker that they know,
Right, and that's what we're doing the research for, is to find out what these signs that they make actually mean. I mean, we could discuss this, till the cows come home, and really not ever be able to pinpoint what's going on with them. That's as far as my granddad was full-blooded Cherokee. The Cherokee used a lot of different Indian signs, a lot of different sign on trees, especially beech trees in the mountainous areas around here. Anything from fish carved into the tree to turtles to basically any type of animal sign like that they used, and it was a significant meaning to the Indian tribes. And same way with Bigfoot, with the markers and all that they leave.
In Ohio, there's a petroglyph called the Leo petroglyph. It's in southeast Ohio, and I went there one time to take a look at it because we were on our way to Point Pleasant, and it was off to the side of the road from on the way to Point Pleasant. And I looked at this, and there's, like you said, there's birds, there's fish, and this and that, and there's 2 tracks. They say are carvings of bear tracks, but to me, they look exactly like a Bigfoot track. And this is from like 1,200 years ago. So they could have been indicating to travelers or whatever that, okay, there's deer here, there's fish here, there's Bigfoot here. That
Right.
type of thing. Now, when I was in Ohio, my sister and I went back. Everybody knows why I take my sister, right? Because I can run faster than her.
I've got into the same situation, bud.
Hey now.
But we went back to the same area where we had found that track, okay? And this was in a ravine, and on the hill right by where we were sitting, we saw these bent trees, if anybody's ever run across those before. So we climbed up the hill where these bent trees were because it didn't seem like natural to us. And there was a classic Bigfoot structure on top of this hill with the bent trees and a couple other odd things. So I took pictures of it. And over the summer, I would go back there every once in a while, and I would take pictures of this structure. And after a while, I started looking at these, and the structure changes. Things were added, things were removed, that type of thing. And I'm thinking, well, if somebody was hoaxing this, they wouldn't go back and make these subtle changes to this structure. And I kind of came to the conclusion that this could be a form of communication, because with them being so scattered, and this structure could be in a central location to where if you change what's the structure, if you change the logs and sticks or whatever on this structure, you can actually change the message that you want to give. So if a family unit was coming through to look at it, or traveling or whatever, they can look at this and ascertain a message from this. And over time, like I said, the message could change. Like maybe hunting was better, or hunting was not as good, or that type of thing, or this pond dried up, or this creek is flooded. It could be anything.
Yeah.
But to me, it was like there was a billboard that they were leaving a message, and like I said, they changed stuff to change the message. That's my opinion of it. If anybody's ever
right, so basically, like a teacher writing on the chalkboard in school, messages from day to day, telling telling the students different various things. So the Sasquatch are basically doing the same thing.
Exactly. They have to communicate somehow, because if they live in family units, which that's what we think, the family units,
Oh yeah,
male,
most
female, maybe
definitely.
a couple young or whatever, and they have a certain territory or whatever, but there's another group or family unit 3 or 4 hills over. Well, they're not going to meet and talk. They're going to have something in like a central location to where they can leave a message or something along those lines, just as a way to communicate, to share ideas.
Exactly right. I had a lady, you're talking about Tennessee. I had a lady message me a couple of days ago, and actually she's going to be on the show next Wednesday night from up at Nashville. She's having a lot of problems on her property up there, and she actually sent me some pictures where someone had abandoned a vehicle on her property and set it on fire. As far as I can gather, it was a stolen vehicle. But one of the pictures that I found very interesting was she was there with the police when they had arrived at the property, and it was nighttime, of course, and she'd been snapping some pictures, and there's actually a full-bodied form of what appears to be a Sasquatch about 30 yards back in the wood line from the car. Now, the leaves were off, and you could actually see this full-bodied Sasquatch. I mean, a very huge, ominous form there in the wood line. And she was asking me, why this thing would have actually, it being a wild creature, why it would have actually came down and to check this out. And like I told her, Sasquatch are curious. Those creatures, they're a very curious creature, and anything that goes on in the area where they live at, they are going to come and they're going to check it out. And whether it be a fire, whether it be just someone camping or whatever.
Right. They want to know if it's good or bad, or if it's something they need to deal with or just ignore, or that's their territory. They need to be on top of that type of thing.
That's exactly right.
Well, and I think that kind of goes back to them, what a lot of the Native Americans believed was, them being seers of the land. That they take care of try to take care of the environment. I mean, I think that's kind of one of their purposes. I wouldn't say take care of the environment, but the land, earth. So, I mean, like you said, they want to know what's going on.
Guardians.
Yeah, guardians.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. And that picture, whoever took it, caught this Bigfoot watching them probably from a distance, a little bit of a distance, and it probably didn't move a muscle. Just stood there.
Oh, no, you could tell in the picture this thing was transfixed by a large tree, but you can see the whole outline of the creature. I mean, man, it's amazing.
And it's behind the fire. Like you can tell, you can see it through the fire. That's how massive this creature is. Or being, I don't really like calling them creatures, beings.
So this is taken when the vehicle was on fire?
Yeah, while the vehicle was burning, yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was curious. It was wanting to know what's going on,
Well, and this fire was huge too. So, I mean, I'm sure it definitely wanted to know what was going on.
Exactly.
But yeah, we're going to have her on next week. We'll have photos from the area up there. She actually caught 3 images. She said she walked down in her balcony the other night about 10:30. She had heard this racket. She snapped photos, and I actually sent the photos to a friend of mine, Mr. Richard Taylor, and Texas. Had Richard analyze the photo. But what it is white. You can see the whole outline of the being, but it's just basically a white shadow. And she caught this thing in 3 separate photos. And Richard seems to think, that it might have been one leaving from from one dimension or coming in from another dimension into our dimension. You know, a lot of people believe along these lines. You know,
Yeah, I don't know.
these creatures.
I don't know how
Go
you,
ahead.
you feel about the paranormal aspect with, it's alongside Bigfoot. I mean, there are a lot of paranormal aspects about them that do happen.
Well, as far as the paranormal aspects of it, I haven't encountered like the cloaking or the interdimensional or that type of thing personally.
Neither have I.
I did have one odd occasion, okay, and I've got this in my book. Um, my sister and I, here again, I was out running her, but we were in the same area that we were in early before the initial area, and my point and shoot camera, the shutter motor went out of it, so I was using my night vision camera in daytime mode, taking pictures. And when I looked at the pictures, there was what looked like a Bigfoot face impressed in the environment. And the first thing that came to my mind was this could be some type of remote viewing, because I've read where like the CIA and the Russians and the Chinese for decades have been using remote viewing to spy on each other, which remote viewing is someone, I guess they can teach this, but someone concentrates on a subject no matter how far away it is, and they can actually look at this the target that they're looking at and describe it and actually tell you what's going on with it. So if that's true, which I've read it is, then that could be a primate characteristic. And Bigfoots could develop this remote viewing as a form of self-defense or defense mechanism. And that could be one of the reasons why they are so elusive. I've got the picture in my book. It's cool.
Well, and that's kind of what I talk about. How I said paranormal aspect. That's just kind of how I explain it. But just kind of like what you were talking about there. When I say paranormal, I don't mean actually like quote unquote, paranormal. It's things we don't understand how they're capable of doing it.
Right.
Whether if it's some, just things that, like you said, as primates, something that we may have possessed at one point in time, we've lost the ability to be able to use it, whatever, but they are things that, happen that science can't exactly explain.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, they could do things that we would think is paranormal, but like you said, it's something that we have forgotten how to do thousands of years ago.
We just don't understand. Exactly.
Because there's got to be a reason why they're so elusive and how they can be so elusive. Because it's very hard to get a photo of them or a movie or anything. And in my opinion, when a Bigfoot steps out from behind a tree and shows itself, it knows that if we have a sighting, that the next thing that happens is that you're going to have 20 people in the woods looking for a Bigfoot in the same woods that they made the sighting. If they show themselves on this hill to draw us there, to keep us away from the other hill where their family's at.
Yeah, distractions.
Exactly. And that's like the Bigfoots. How many Bigfoot have you heard caught running across the road at night? I mean, a lot.
Well, that's your most generic Bigfoot sighting.
And I think they do that just to mess with us, because they got to know the car's coming. They see the headlights half a mile away. I think they wait till it gets close and run out in front just to screw with us.
Well, that's what I was about to say. Is I kind of have a little theory behind that. It's kind of goofy, but I think a lot of the road crossing sightings that you have are juveniles or
Could
younger.
very well be.
They're just kind of sitting there with their buddies and like, look, I bet you won't go over and run across that road in front of that car. Type situation. I mean, next thing you know, you got Bob running across the road. I mean,
Yeah, they're back in the woods drinking beers and stuff. Well, no, see who's going to run across the road, you know?
Hey man, it's amazing to me that we're talking about the abilities that these creatures possess. People think they're just dumb apes out here running around in the woods. Well, these creatures are far more advanced than we will ever give them credit for. One of our viewers here has wrote in the Black Budget World, communications is frequent with eternal beings, Sasquatch, paranormal, demonic entities, and many other different advanced species. For the average citizen, this is dangerous. And this is a guy from watching from Los Alamos National Laboratories, Office of Scientific Research and Development. Uh, Goes on the communication abilities of the Sasquatch that Sasquatch possesses are extremely advanced to humans.
I would kind of go along with that.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Like you had the Sierra sounds from Ron Moorhead, where he actually recorded what he called samurai chatter.
Yep.
That was an actual spoken language of these creatures.
Yeah, me and Ricky's actually heard samurai chatter before, so.
Oh yeah, something that you'll never forget. I could be in the woods a million times, and these things run up on this, and these things start in, and would recognize it, right off the bat. These creatures.
There's only one particular location we've ever had it happen. And it was only a couple times.
Right, but the night that it happened, now I'll tell you, Mike, we went through the old cemetery down there. We were actually down there doing paranormal investigation that night, and this is the first time that we actually had an encounter with Sasquatch there at the cemetery. We had rocks that weighed probably 15 pounds thrown at us, probably from 60 foot across the cemetery from the wood line, came down through a tree that we were standing under, came actually down through the tree. You could hear the rocks hitting the tree limbs as it came through and landed 3 to 4 foot from where we were standing. And not just one rock, but multiple rock throws. Had a big tree pushed over down there. We'd started from the cemetery that night down to the lake to see if we could find any tracks around the lake area. And that's when we encountered the Sierra sounds, basically the samurai chatter. But it sounded like it was coming from the trees themselves and from multiple locations. And son, you're talking about when you first hear this, you're talking about causing the hair to rise on the back of your neck, but it will.
It sounds like somebody talking. Like, I mean, that's the part about it. Like, it sounds like somebody talking, but you have no pronounceable words though. Like, it's very odd.
I haven't encountered that yet. I've been growled at, screamed at, whistled at. I've heard the whoops and the tree knocks, but not the samurai or what they called the Ohio howl. I haven't heard that yet.
Well, basically, buddy, we've heard about all of it, and believe me, we actually encountered one thing down there on an investigation back last year, and my youngest grandson, Ethan, was with us. He and a guy that we was partners with back at the time from up in Tennessee. He and Ethan had stayed down at camp, and Blake and I were going to go up and walk through the cemetery, and we took some equipment up there with us to set up. And just as we got into the cemetery, we heard one of the god-awfulest sounds that we've ever heard in our lives. I'll let Blake explain that to you if he wants to.
I don't even really know how to explain it. This is just how I explain it. I don't know if there's any way else to explain it. It sounded like a laughing hyena, but something other than from this world. Like it was evil, whatever it was. I don't know. That's all I know to explain it.
And man, that's the only time, Mike, we've ever encountered anything like that as far as
Never
that
heard
type
it
of
again.
sound.
Never heard it before.
But now that was one night that I'm not easily frightened at all doing these investigations because we're out in the wilderness at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning doing research. I'm not shook up easy at all. But that was one night that Blake and I both were kindly shook up over that one.
Was it a growl?
No,
it
it
wasn't a
was a
growl.
howl. It was a howl / scream / brother. I really don't know how to explain it other than it had a canine sound to it, but it wasn't a canine.
Because my sister and I were at Salt Fork, and it was in March. We were walking a trail back in, and we heard a turkey squawking. It was in the brush next to us, but it was far enough in that we couldn't see it. And we was walking along, and this turkey was walking the same direction with us. And we walked maybe 50, 75 yards, and the turkey came out into like a clearing so we can see it. So we just turned around and came back. But we heard this ungodly growl that I would swear sounded like a mix between a freight train and Godzilla. I mean, this thing was low, guttural, loud growl that there's nothing in the Ohio woods to make this noise. I think this was a Bigfoot letting us know that we were interrupting its turkey hunt. So we just kind of walked back to the car. But we've been growled at.
About that. That's the thing about what we heard. There's nothing here in our woods or should sound anything like we heard. I don't know what it was.
Right.
I don't even want to say it was a Bigfoot, because I've never heard that before ever. And I mean, I've heard multiple different types of howls.
Any dogman reports?
Go ahead, Blake.
Yeah, that is something. In this same area, about 10 miles from where we were at, there used to be a legend of Catalog Creek, which was a dog man, supposedly. I don't know how true I don't know how true all these stories were and everything. There used to be a website for it. The website's no longer up, but if I had to, the dog man, of Catalog Creek.
Catalog Creek, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much I believe in dog man. I don't, I'm that's something I'm still kind of on the fence about. I mean, I don't discredit it, but I've never had any type of interaction or anything other than that one howl or whatever you want to call it. So, I can't say that wasn't what it was, but I don't know.
Now, here in Tennessee, the area that I investigate, when I first started going into this area, I found a live tree. The top of it, probably maybe 12 foot up, was broken off. And from 5 foot off the ground, from there up, the tree was shredded by something that had claws. Okay. Now, I took pictures of it. I've been to Nova Scotia a couple of times bear hunting. I sent the pictures to my bear guide there, asking him, would a bear do this? He says, that doesn't look like anything a bear would do. A bear would tear up a rotten log or a rotten tree stump or something like that, looking for grubs and food. He said that he's never seen anything like that before. But this was something with claws that tore this tree up. And it started, like I said, 5 feet off the ground. So whatever it was tall and had claws. And it wasn't a Bigfoot. Bigfoots have fingernails. They don't have claws. So dogman, I don't know. But that's the only thing I've ever seen like that in that area.
Yeah. Have you ever had an encounter with a dogman or?
No, just maybe that. But other than that, no. I haven't
Are there reports in that area of dogman or?
No, there aren't even reports of Bigfoot in that area, but they're there.
Yeah. Just nobody talks about them.
Well, how difficult, Mike, is it in your area to get people to actually open up and talk about Sasquatch sightings or whatever?
Yeah, there's never been any reported sightings. Now, I kind of live out in the country, so I really don't get to talk to a lot of people, but it would be interesting to find out if there's stories of Bigfoot in this area. Maybe I can get a little bit of more information on it, or something along those lines.
When you live in areas like that, I mean, it's hard to get people to talk about it openly. I mean, they might share the story, person to person, but, they don't run out and tell BFRO or, any of these big organizations or anything
Right.
like that. Those stories they just get passed down from generation to generation.
Now, in October, I'm going to have a good opportunity in Crossville, Tennessee, which is in Cumberland County. They're going to have the first ever Bigfoot festival, and I'm going to be a vendor there. I'll be selling my books and stuff. So I'm going to take the opportunity there to talk to people and see if there are stories of sightings and where they are.
Yeah.
And that type of thing, because people love to talk about it.
What date is that, Mike?
I'd have to get the date. I can go look real quick if you want to hang on for a second.
Okay, well, no, I'll tell you what, just when you get a chance, just send it to my messenger, please.
Sure, I can do that.
All right.
That kind of goes back to the area I was talking about when we first got on here, Johns Mountain area. I mean, there are a lot of activity over there, but you never hear, there are no reported sightings. There are very little things on the internet about it. But for example, we went over there one night just to go out there for a little bit, and serpentine belt on my truck. So where we're at over there, just kind of give you a little story of what the events that happened. We started over the mountain, started hearing a squealing, and it kind of sounded like brakes. Well, we started headed down the other side of the mountain, and it smelled like brakes getting hot. So I thought my brakes were getting hot, so we continued on. We went to where we were going. We went to leave and went to start the vehicle, and you could hear the belt squealing. So I get out and check it, and half the serpentine belt's there. My idler pulley locked up. We don't have service. So on the way in, I noticed there are a couple houses out in this area. There are like 2 or 3. And I noticed lights on it one. So I was like, well, we got to make it back to at least one of those houses. So we were able to make it back to the house I'd seen the lights on, and, went and knocked on the door. They really nice people. You could tell they were a little concerned of why we're out there at 1 o'clock in the morning, knocking on somebody's door, even though we explained the story. Well, the guy come over and he was chatting with us, and him and Ricky were sitting there talking, and Ricky just or I think I told him, I was just honest. Anytime something like that and I run across somebody, I'm typically honest with them of what we're doing. I'd rather them look at me like I'm crazy and them not know what we're doing. So, I don't ever know the response somebody's going to give when you tell them you're Bigfoot hunting, or, you're doing investigating Bigfoot. It's either going to go one of 2 ways. They're going to look at you like you're crazy, or they're going to be cool with it. Well, this guy's like, never met this guy in our life. He proceeds to tell us that he actually has them on his property. He's lived over there for 14 months. So the land over there is part of an old Boy Scout and Girl Scout club. They're a lake, and of course the Boy Scout club and all that's not in operation no more. But he's kind of like the maintenance man. He said he'd lived over 14 months, and he's lived all over the country and never had the stuff happen to him that he's had happen over there. If we wouldn't have talked to that guy that night, we'd have never heard that story.
But what made the cool part about that, Mike, is he actually had pictures of Sasquatch on trail that he actually showed us over there that night.
Wow.
And these things are coming down behind his house, across the front of the lake, and going back into the wooded area below the Girl Scout camp.
And you can tell he's just one of those guys that just don't go around telling this story to everybody. So, how many people live in these areas that have had encounters that just never gets a chance to tell their story because most people don't want to hear it, or they just don't tell their story. So there are a lot of sightings that you don't hear about, or you don't hear about for years until after they happen.
I was at a Bigfoot festival last month in Townsend, Tennessee. It was the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Festival.
Right.
You're aware of that one?
Oh yeah. We actually have a friend, Nathan, that he was one of the sponsors up there.
Okay. Okay.
He owns the Smoky Mountain the U.S. Bigfoot Patrol, and then also he owns the Smoky Mountain Sasquatch Coffee Company.
Well, I was there. I had vendors selling my book, and which I did quite well. But a lot of the people, the vendors at that festival, were selling like T-shirts and this and that, and very, very few actual Bigfoot people there as vendors. And people would come up to my table. I had a line of people coming up to my table telling stories because they want somebody to talk to about this. When they go to these festivals and these conferences and that type of thing, they're looking for somebody to talk to. They don't want to go there and buy
somebody that's not going to look at them like they're crazy. You know, they're in their environment. They're around people that they know that they can tell their story to, that's not going to judge them.
Right. People just, there were so many stories, and good stories, funny stories, people scared, people, they don't know how to react to this. And it just, the stories were amazing, and they were glad they had somebody to talk to and tell the stories too.
Sorry, Ricky's a popular man tonight.
Sorry, guys, that's my grandson trying to get a hold of me. He's probably wanting to go fishing.
Fishing good right now.
Oh yeah. We got a private lake down at Plainville, about 15, 18 miles from here that we've been going to the last couple of weeks, and been doing some pretty good luck down there.
Yeah, I got a little fishing pond on the property that I'm renting here. And I went out a couple of days ago and caught a 9-inch bluegill out of there.
Oh, nice, yeah, man. Oh, yeah, very nice bluegill.
Yeah.
What I started to tell you earlier, Mike, we were talking about the sound that we heard down there that night that neither of us can really explain what it was. I've actually hunted North Georgia mountains since I was 7 years old. I'm 63 years old now. I've been hunting 3/4 of my life. I've hunted every creature that bear, wild hog, everything that we've got in this area. And that thing down there we heard that night, I did not recognize it. I don't know what it was. I was a taxidermist for 20 years. Had encounters with basically about anything in this area that could be mounted. I've mounted over the years, and as I told you,
even things that shouldn't have been here.
Yeah, and some of the things that shouldn't have been here. That's like we've actually had in the area here over the last 15, 20 years, we've had people that's had encounters with the what they call cougars, mountain lions. DNR, though you call them, report it, they tell you you're crazy, that those creatures are not in the state of Georgia.
We're not supposed to have black panthers,
Right.
We have. I live 5 minutes, 10 minutes out of town, not a super big town, but I do live the area I live in. There are a lot of woodland. I mean, they are houses, but there are also a lot of woods over here. We had one running around in our neighborhood that were seen by quite a few people about 7 or 8 years ago. So I mean, they're here. I know Ricky was telling me that he's mounted piranha. They come out of places they shouldn't have come out of here. That, people have released and end up getting caught. And, we're not supposed to have alligators here, but they've been some found. I mean, things migrate.
Well, when I first came down here, I had a fish done. I found a local taxidermist, and he did a fish for me, and he was telling me that when he first moved down here, I think he's from like New York State or something, and when he first got down here, he saw a black panther in his front yard. He says, I know that's a black panther because I'm a taxidermist and I know my critters. So, yeah, I believe you. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know what else. I only saw it once, and I saw the rear end of it going into the woods. But I mean, just the tail length on this. I mean, it's definitely a feline. Like, I mean, it was a cat. But I mean, the tail on this creature was almost the body length of the cat, and this cat was a 50, 60 pound cat or bigger. I mean, there are no house cats around here running around that big. I hope not, at least.
No. When I was a kid, my family's from Nelsonville, Ohio, southeast Ohio, and my uncle, I was 5, 6, 7 years old or whatever. And my uncle had a chest freezer, and he had a panther print in snow that he had in his freezer. I remember that big time. Yeah. But yeah, he had this panther print, and it was in the snow, and he just froze it and had it there for years until he passed away. Well, I don't know whatever happened to it.
And people know they're here. It's just you ask DNR, and of course DNR will deny it, until hell freezes over. I mean,
they'll deny everything. Bigfoot, panthers. They'll probably deny there's squirrels out there.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous with them.
Well, I mean, even Ricky had a family member that was DNR that just recently passed away, and he told Ricky that he's encountered things that he couldn't explain and stuff, but he would never go into detail. He would never tell, like, yes, I seen a Bigfoot, or, and so forth, and tell the stories. I mean, but you could tell the man had seen things in the woods that shouldn't be here.
Right. If they told, they'd probably get fired.
Right. Well, he worked with the Federal Forestry Service, and the fire, I don't know if you heard anything about it, Mike, or not, but the fire of 1988 out in Yellowstone National Park, it burnt close to, I think, like 500,000 acres out there. Rick was out there on that fire, had his crew out there. They encountered something that he said that one of his men had found this corpse of an animal that Rick said he had never seen anything like it. He would not go as far as say that it was a Sasquatch. He said the barely. But he radioed his fire commander, and told him that they had found something they needed to send somebody out there to check out. He said they were out in the middle, like I said, of Yellowstone, hundreds of miles back in there away from anybody. He said within 45 minutes, there was a helicopter flew in out there. There were 5 guys got off the helicopter and went out with him to where this body was recovered at. This thing was wrapped up in plastic, put on a cart, and brought back out to the main road. A flatbed truck came in and got it, left with it, and Rick said, that's all I ever know. So they turned around and told us, y'all guys haven't seen a thing. So this never happened. So what it was, Rick never would go into full detail and tell me what it was, but you can draw your own conclusions.
Well, I was in Salt Fork, and on this one trail, I found these pine trees that were arched over the trail. I figured it was snow load or whatever, even though we didn't get that much snow in Ohio. But it was interesting. I took pictures of them and stuff. And eventually, over probably a summer, something, I believe it was a Bigfoot, took these arched pine trees and actually wove them together at the top.
I'll find the batteries.
without the use of any ropes or bindings or anything like that. And they had to have been 10 feet off the ground where they were woven together. I mean, it was incredible. And if Bigfoot did this, I think this was actually artistic expression rather than a communication. But I went back to the next spring.
That's a unique characteristic of what Sasquatch actually does.
Exactly. Well, I went back there the next spring, and the somebody from the state of Ohio or from the Rangers or whatever went in there with a backhoe or something and tore that down to cover up Bigfoot activity. I got pictures of it. I got pictures of the woven trees in my book because it's incredible. It's incredible that they could actually do something like that, to take the time to do that and to do it so well. To me, it has to be like an artistic expression or something along those lines, rather than leaving a message or communication or something mundane like that.
Right, and that goes back. You're talking about them going in and tearing the structure down.
Right.
That goes back to why in the world does our government fear the knowledge of us actually knowing that these creatures are in the woods and that they actually exist? You know, why?
Exactly. There's no reason, but if it did come out that they are, an actual species, then a lot of people will think, well, then they'll have to establish habitats for it, and it's going to mess up logging and this and that or whatever. But I don't think it would, because there's Bigfoot out there, but there's not millions of them. The habitats that they have can easily be protected. It's just the matter of the government cover up. They don't want us to know. It's just because that's what they do.
Well, my feelings on this, Mike, is that I feel that the government knows these creatures actually possess abilities that they can't control. And you know as well as I do, if the government can't control something, it don't exist. I mean, that's basically what it is, and that's my feelings on the whole deal.
I would go along with that.
So the area you're in up there, I know you said you had one area that you now do investigations in.
Right.
What is that area like? Is it mountainous terrain? Is it flat land? Is there a lot of water, rivers in the area?
It's mountainous, but it's not real steep mountainous. It's like a plateau. It's on the Cumberland Plateau, but I can't say exactly where it's at.
Right, right.
There's a lookout that you can see for miles, and it's just rolling hills and forest. I mean, as far as the eye can see. So it's a huge area. But like I said, it's mountainous. There's some steepness to it. There's creeks, and there's natural springs too. That tore up tree I was telling you about was right by a natural spring. So there's a lot of deer in there. There's plenty of turkey. There's water. It's just a great habitat for them.
Okay, what about vegetation? As far as berries, things of that nature?
There's tons of berries there. Tons of berries. There's blackberries, black raspberries, sassafras. I mean, sassafras everywhere. Probably the same way in Georgia.
Right.
I don't know if they use it or not, but it's there. I know back in the 1700s, the colonists would ship sassafras back to England as a treatment for syphilis. It must work because they never had syphilis. So
I know my dad, when I was younger, when I was a kid, he made what they called sassafras tea.
I made it. Oh, yeah.
he would actually dig the roots of the sassafras bush up and boil the tea off of it. And I know when I was like 5, 6 years old, I would follow Dad around, and Dad would always, he'd break just a limb off the sassafras bush and would chew on it just for the flavor. Well, I was like, say, 5, 6 years old. I come up in the yard over at the house one morning. I'd been over in the woods. Come up, I was chewing on what I thought was a sassafras stalk. Well, no, come find out. My mother, I got a good beating over this one, but I was actually chewing on a poison oak leaf. So, but hey, it worked for me, man. I've never had any problems with ever being allergic to poison oak, poison ivy, sumac, anything like that. So I guess it was a blessing in the long run, but one that I took a beating over anyway.
Oh yeah. Yeah, sassafras is everywhere down here. And I do make the tea. So yeah, I love it. But like I said, I don't know if they use it. I haven't seen it pulled up to where I could say that they dug it up, but it could be an area that I haven't been in, you know. But I would think that they are definitely aware of it, so they could probably use it for something, even for a medicinal purpose.
Right, that's what I started to say. I found areas where I've actually seen this. I don't know if you know what bloodroot or yellow root, things of that nature is, but I've actually found areas where these things have actually dug these roots out of the ground, and you could actually see fingerprints that look like human fingerprints where they've dug these things out of the ground, and you could find where they've actually chewed on it. And so, you know, why wouldn't these creatures possess the knowledge just like the humans do, as far as using these type roots as medicinal purposes?
Exactly. They probably know a lot more about it than we do.
Oh, very much so. You know, that's something that I've always said. It amazes me that people think they're so smart, you know, in today's society. We have electricity, we have, you know, computers, we have our cars, we have everything. I had one guy tell me, well, look, you know, if Sasquatch is so smart, why is he not out here driving a BMW around? Well, my reply to that was, look, man, can you go out in the woods and live for a year like the Sasquatch lives and survive? And he looks at me, he said, well, no. He said, I couldn't do it. There's no way. I said, exactly, brother. I said, because I said, you don't possess the knowledge that these creatures possess.
Right. They're as at home in their domain as we are in ours.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I mean, 99% of the American population, world population, if we took our electricity away from us, took our coffee pots, our microwaves, our electricity, you know, the things that we depend on to live, you know, we couldn't survive.
Just take their phones away and they'll be dead.
I'll agree completely. Blake, buddy, don't seem like you're getting in on this conversation. What's up?
I'm sitting here with Zane. I don't know if is my camera working?
It looks like you're froze up.
Hang on 1 second. I'm gonna jump off and jump back on.
Okay. But no, if we had to go back, you know, and I tell my grandkids this all the time, Mike, if we had to go back 100 years in time and live like my mom and dad did back then, there's no way that we as a species would ever survive.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. We're not adapted to that anymore.
No. But that goes back to the Sasquatch. The Sasquatch is as at home, as you said, in their environment as we are in our own homes. They know, for instance, man, if you go in the woods where one of these creatures actually lives, he's going to come and check you out because, number one, as soon as you walk into that wood line, you're in his house. You're no longer in yours. You're in his house. And when you walk in there, he's going to know that you come through his front door. he's going to know you're there, and he's going to come and check you out, see what's going on.
Exactly. Did you get those pictures that I sent you?
I did. Let me bring some of those up.
I want to tell you the story about those.
Okay. All right, here's the first one, Mike. You see that one?
Yep. I got him circled. If anybody can see it, he's right in the middle of the picture.
Right, I see it there.
Yeah, when I took these pictures, my sister and I walked a dry creek bed back about half a mile to where I knew some caves were. Well, the terrain started getting rough, so I didn't want to take my sister back there. So I just stood there with my point and shoot camera and just took pictures, just random pictures into the woods. And there were 3 of them hunkered down in the brush and another one in the tree watching us. And that's one right there. You can see the brow ridge and his eyes.
Right. Well, you can actually see the whole outline of him there.
Yeah.
To me, it looks like a younger juvenile, not a real big creature.
Right.
Okay, and I'm gonna bring up the other one here. That's number 2.
Yep. He was kind of further back, but he's got his head sticking up.
Right. Now, was this taken in the same area?
Yeah, I took all these pictures in the same area. I just took like 30 or 40 pictures, just random into the woods, and these were just black dots in the distance. I had to enhance them to bring out the detail. But like I said, there's 3 of them hunkered down in the brush and 1 in a tree.
Okay, and I'm gonna bring up the 3rd picture here.
That's a good one. You can see his head, his brow ridge, and a shoulder.
Right, and it even looks like maybe there's one to the front of him.
Could be, yeah. But that looks like an older one.
Right, yeah, right. It does look like an older one.
Right.
Sure does. Okay, and here's number 4.
Yeah, that's one sitting up in a tree. Now, I can't imagine an 800-pound anything sitting on a branch up in a tree. They must be able to handle their weight a lot different than we would, because we would be falling down out of there.
Oh yeah. Even me, I weigh about 175 pounds, and number one, I'm at the age that it would be very difficult for me to get up there.
Me too.
Number 2, if I was up there sitting on that limb, my luck, I'm going to hit the ground wide open.
Yep. But he's just sitting there watching us.
Right, like it's nothing.
Yeah. I didn't know they were there. I didn't know I caught them until I looked at the pictures on my computer. We heard nothing. We saw nothing. There was no indication there was there. There was no movement, no smell, nothing. They just sat there and watched us.
Okay, you bring up the smell aspect. Have you ever actually smelled one of these creatures?
No, never have.
Blake and I were down at the lake there at Altoona back in 2011. After Blake had his encounter, we went down there and done a daytime investigation. And my roommate, Michael Hill, was with us. My nephew, Kenny, Blake, and some young guy that Blake knew at the time. Man, I'm telling you, we went through the cemetery. We parked over there in front of the cemetery, walked through it down to the lake. And the lake area there behind the cemetery is actually just a big cove that comes off the main body of Altoona Lake. The cove runs for about a mile up in there, and you can actually walk all the way around the cove to get over to the other side. Well, we started the lake and we got over at the very end of the cove, and I got smelling this smell that smelled like a mixture between raw propane, rotten eggs, and sulfur. And I turned to my roommate, Michael, and asked him, I said, man, what is that? And he said, man, I don't know. He said, but I smell it too. So Blake and them come up behind us, and they also smelled the same smell that we were smelling. And we walked on over into the woods, and this was for like 15 minutes, man. It was just very, very stout, pungent odor that just about took your breath away. But after 15 minutes or so, the smell dissipated. We couldn't smell it, but we never heard any racket. We never heard anything out of this creature. But I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that is what it had to have been.
Oh, I would say, yeah. Now, when I go in and do my investigations or whatever, I go in, like I said, during the daytime, and I go in, I stay on the trail. I go in quiet, slow. I don't want to come off as a threat or anything like that. You know, if they want to shoo me out, if they want to growl at me, that's fine. I'll take the hint and I'll leave. But I don't think I've ever given them an occasion to use like the scent defense or throw rocks or anything like that. I try to be respectful when I go into that type of situation.
Right, that's the only way you can be.
Exactly.
Oh, you know, Blake and I have encountered these creatures where we actually know that they've been within 10 or 15 foot of us, but never see them. Not until they let out a whistle, they let out a whoop, something of that nature to actually identify themselves and to let us know they're there.
Right.
And you know that's really what really amazes me about these creatures is that you can take 1,000-pound creature 8 foot tall and not even know he's nowhere in the world until he wants you to know it.
Exactly. And that's probably why people think that they're interdimensional or they cloak or something like that, because they don't understand how they can do that, because we can't. You know, we go and wearing camos and stuff like that, but you can still see them. They don't understand how they can do that without being supernatural or superstitious, that type of thing.
Well, Blake's got a good theory on that, and as far as that's concerned, I don't know, Blake. You want to explain it to him?
What was it? Sorry, I've got a little visitor over here.
Hey, Zane, how you doing, buddy?
Hi. Good.
Say hello to everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Tell him what you want to say about Bigfoot.
I don't know idea.
You believe in Bigfoot, buddy?
I love Bigfoot.
Oh, okay. Bigfoot loves you too.
Hey, where's the put?
Hey, he's a little Bigfoot fanatic.
Oh, yeah. Hey, start him out early. That's exactly what you got to do this day and time. No, we were discussing the abilities that Bigfoot possess as far as the cloaking. Man, I've lost it. Now, what's your theory on all that, Blake?
On the cloaking?
On the cloaking, the mind speak, the paranormal aspects of Sasquatch.
Well, I mean, just like, you said, talked many times about it. I mean, I think it's things that it's not necessarily so far out of reach. It's things I think that we may have possessed at one point in time. The things that, just goes back to the quote unquote paranormal aspects of things. It may just be simple things that we don't understand because we can't do it no more.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It
and
does.
It may not even be cloaking. I mean, like, what my theory on the cloaking, though, is it may be actually, we have other animals that can camouflage.
Right.
There are a lot of lizards. There are a lot of things that can take on the same colorization and same thing as their surrounding and their environment. What if that's what their cloaking is? What if it's not actually, quote unquote cloaking? It's more of a camouflage.
Right. I was in South Dakota pheasant hunting one time, and we were walking a cut cornfield. It was stubble. It wasn't plowed. And there's about 10 of us. We was maybe 10, 12 yards apart, flanking this cornfield, flushing birds. And we walked along, and I heard something behind me, and I turned around, and there was this big old doe running through the field. I had just walked right past this doe and never saw it. Never knew it was there until it got up and started running. And to me, that was amazing that even a deer like that in cornrow stubble could hide that well. So all these, everything in nature has their ability to protect themselves, to survive.
Yeah.
Some do better than others.
Well, brother, the Sasquatch.
We're one of the worst ones at it now.
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, hey man, we go out and spend thousands of dollars on camouflage every year to hunt and fish with, and hey, an animal can still pick us out of shrub, pine trees, whatever you're behind. They know you're there anytime you're there, whether it be from scent, whether it be from sight, whatever. But a Sasquatch, hey,
well, and scent's a big thing. Out of about any other animal on Earth, we probably have the least ability to smell things.
Yeah.
We do not have the smelling capabilities of even just a dog.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, imagine, a dog can smell, amazing. Imagine something like a Sasquatch. I mean, just their ability to smell. They can probably smell you, half a mile to a mile away.
Right.
That's right.
That's right. And like I have cast Bigfoot footprints, and everyone that I've ever cast, there's always been one print. On one occasion, I was walking the trail, and there was a low spot that was wet and muddy. Well, this thing stepped into the mud, backed up, and walked around the wet spot. They left one track. And I cast another one. It was a juvenile. It was on a game trail, and it actually broke through the frost into the spongy stuff underneath, and left a track. But I think what this did, it didn't walk the game trail. It walked beside the game trail. I don't think they walk game trails because they don't want to leave their scent on it, but they'll walk by a game trail and follow it that way.
Right.
Well, and a lot of people, one of the theories, a lot of people say they talk about how tracks just end. You'll find tracks, all of a sudden there are no tracks, and then there's no explanation of where they went to. Native Americans used to walk through their tracks.
Right, backtracking. My grandfather taught me that as a young boy.
Exactly.
One of the most simple things. You walk with one foot in front of the other. You can actually backtrack yourself, and they don't know where you went.
Exactly.
Same way with Sasquatch.
Yep, they're in charge when they're in the woods.
Oh yes, most definitely. Like I said earlier, when we go in the woods, we're no longer in our domain; we're in their domain.
Exactly.
They're the kings of it. They know what's going on out there way before we do.
And we treat it like it's their living room.
All right, guys, we're on right at an hour and a half here. That's it. Mike, I want to thank you, buddy, for being on the show tonight. anytime you want to come back on, just hit me up. If you gather up any new evidence that you want to share with our viewers, we'll be more than glad to have you back on.
Okay.
Before I close out, I'd like to announce to everyone that on July the 28th, we're going to have a roundtable discussion. Mr. Tom Cantrell from Washington State is going to be on with us. Carter Bouchard will be here. There's 2 or 3 others going to be joining us. I'm trying to get Miss Janice Carter out of Tennessee to join us on it. I haven't heard back from her yet. But it's going to be a very good show. And again, next week, we have Miss Trina Renee is going to be on the show. And again, Carter, many thanks, buddy, for coming on tonight, sharing your knowledge, sharing your investigation techniques. Blake, you want to go ahead and close her out, bud?
Yeah,
Can I
thanks,
just give
Mike.
a
Good meeting you,
plug of my
brother.
book real quick?
Go ahead. What?
Yeah, go ahead.
On the Trail of Bigfoot on Amazon. Give it a look. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Everybody remember, on the Trail of Bigfoot, Mike Doppler?
Dupler.
Dupler. Okay, I'm sorry,
Yes.
bud. Remember his book? Get out there, fascinate and read. Get out there and order a copy. And Mike, buddy, thank you again.
All right.
And Blake,
All right.
go ahead, bud.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And as always, guys, thank you so much for your support. And if you don't mind, hit the subscribe button, bell notification, like, and comment. Go buy Mike's book. Show him some love. Zane, you got anything to say?
What?
You got anything to say? Tell everybody good night and thank you for watching.
Good night. Thank you, Big Washington.
Everybody, Mr. Zane, he's a handful, as all kids are. But hey, an up and coming Bigfoot investigator. We hope he does well. Everybody, thanks again for watching. And again, many thanks to you, Mike, for being on the show tonight. Everybody, as Blake says, go out and show Mike some love. Order a copy of his book. Very fascinating reading. Thanks, everybody, and good night. Thanks, everybody, for all the comments.
That is right. I wasn't.